last week, before we get to national news about this, so good news. California judge Roger T. Benitez, which is always funny because I wouldn't expect Roger Benitez.
Yeah, that a little different.
That's like Bob Gustavos.
I wonder if he changed his name.
He probably did.
Yeah.
Just like Whoopi/Oprah. So
Whoopi
Roger
Oprah.
T. Benitez overturned the state's 3-decade-long, by the way, assault weapons ban.
Yeah.
So this is what he wrote. He wrote, government is not free to impose its own new policy choices on American citizens where constitutional rights are concerned. And he specifically talked about the AR-15, referring to it as the Swiss Army knife of firearms, which actually really isn't all that bad of a comparison because it is a pretty multi-purpose firearm. Very easy to shoot, good in a lot of scenarios, not the best in any one scenario, but will work in a pinch. Yeah. And of course, the leftist media is furious, livid, terrified.
Attorney General, thank you for coming on. This is your first interview since the judge's ruling. So when you first heard the judge's ruling and the judge comes out and says, like the Swiss Army knife, the popular AR-15 rifle is a perfect combination, what did you think?
Aaron, that hurt. Obviously, it came out on Gun Violence Awareness Day. We have pledged and will appeal it and seek a remedy at the next level.
I mean, it's just incredible. Your Swiss Army knife, right, is useful to solving problems and survival, and AR-15 is useful in terms of mass slaughter of human beings.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi calling the ruling deeply
firearm has never been used for survival.
And serious threat to public safety.
Governor Newsom's office tweeted this statement late tonight. This decision is a direct threat to public safety and the lives of innocent Californians. Comparing an AR-15 to a Swiss Army knife is a slap in the face to those who lost loved ones to guns. We won't back down, and we will fight for common sense gun laws.
First off, I'm aggravated that he's so good looking, but credit where it's due.
I think he's had some work done, though.
I think so, too. Keep in mind, he was mayor of San Francisco, so he needs to sell it.
Lou Diamond Frisco.
Frisco. This is the thing where they talk about the AR-15 and say, this is a slap in the face during Firearm Awareness Day. Yeah, that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Defensive uses of firearms, it's not even close. If you take away suicides in any given year, and I don't think you should include suicides in violent gun crime, okay? It's anywhere between 15 and 20-something thousand. Let's call it 30,000 on the high end when you take away suicides. Defensive uses of firearms, low end 500,000, likely closer to 3 million.
Wow.
And the reason for this is it's very hard to measure because a lot of the time people have a firearm and they're never required to use it. For example, having a dog deters criminals.
Yeah.
You don't see as many dog attacks as you do non-burgles due to seeing a dog. This happens all the time with firearms. This is a pivotal issue where the left wants to say, we're the only ones who are empathetic. Firearm Awareness Week, right? If you're not on board with removing all firearms, then you don't care about lives. And we say, no. Statistically, you and your policies will lead to more lives lost. And the judge, Benitez, he wrote this in his decision, too, which people don't understand. The average number of assault weapons used in mass shootings since the 1989 ban has remained about the same. Despite the ban, there are over 180-something thousand assault weapons by this arbitrary definition in California.
And 1 billion more people on Earth.
And crime hasn't been great.
Right.
No, it's been pretty rough lately.
I would love to see the statistics of law-abiding, gun-owning citizens that have killed someone.
Right.
Because you're including in that number gang violence.
Of course.
You're including all of those things. You're including justified shootings in that number just to try to make it a little higher.
Let me be clear, too, about California. And we'll get to the ATF, their new proposal here to ban, pistol braces, foldable stocks. But really, it's a gun confiscation program, which no one is talking about. My brother lived in California for a long time. And he wanted a firearm. Now, this was, none of the Walthers that I have, they've been a sponsor to the show for a while, would be allowed there because I knew they were all over a 10-round capacity.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't have over a 10-round magazine in California. So for people who think this is about assault weapons, way down the list, an AR-15, you're talking about a bullet button, just a basic handgun.
Yeah.
Couldn't give him because they had 10-round capacities. But I did have a gun that had been gifted to me a while earlier, a small gun, a SIG P938. For people out there who know it's good firearm. I prefer the Walthers, but it's a perfectly serviceable firearm.
Yeah.
It was the only one that I had that had a capacity, but it was 7. 6+1 or 7+1 with an extended magazine. I couldn't give that to my brother because they hadn't paid an additional tax stamp in California.
Oh, wow.
There were Walther firearms that I had that I couldn't give him that were 7-round magazines. So you're no longer an assault rifle. You have a pistol grip in a rifle, by the way, makes it illegal. Like this, okay, like this, like this, no, like, it's safe, dangerous, safe, dangerous, safe, death, just so you know. Cosmetic. Depending on the sites, if there's a guardrail, illegal in California. Why wouldn't my brother be able to own a basic firearm with a 7-round capacity that should figuratively meet all of the other requirements in California? Because it's not about what's dangerous. Now it's, we're going to add a tax stamp to it. And that's a way to squeeze more money out of the manufacturers. So this is what happens. Only the big companies, again, too big to fail, who can spend this money on all of these arbitrary rules, tax stamps, get through the regulation, can sell their guns in California where you can pay for an overpriced, modified, less effective firearm. Again, it favors big businesses, and it's not about keeping you safe.
Right.
Otherwise, of course, you should be able to own a firearm, a basic handgun with 7 rounds. Most of them, the best ones, aren't available in your state. That's the good news in California. Yeah. Here's the bad news for the rest of the United States of America. And notice they're not talking about this in the media. You know why? Because it's the single losingest issue for Democrats, firearms, right? It is something that's a big reason why Hillary Clinton lost. It will turn Democrat voters against them if they believe that you are rabidly pro-gun control. Right. And even pro-firearm. Even pro-firearm control Americans usually think that a confiscation and collection is too extreme.
Bridge too far.
But that's what we're looking at. Let me read you this. This is from former Vice President Joe Biden's ATF now. They proposed a new gun law on Monday. This would amend the definition of rifle to include, I'm going to read you a few here. Yeah. Any weapon with a rifled barrel and equipped with an attached stabilizing brace that has objective design features and characteristics that indicate that the firearm is designed to be fired from the shoulder, as well as set forth a worksheet factoring criteria for rifled barreled weapons with accessories commonly referred to as stabilizing braces. I'll explain this in a little bit. To aid the firearms industry and public in understanding the criteria that ATF considers when evaluating firearm samples that are submitted with an attached, there's that word again, stabilizing brace. Stabilizing brace. People are like, well, who does that affect, right? A stabilizing brace. A lot. Just to start, for people who don't know a whole lot about firearms, right? It's just a modified stock. But here's what's funny. Just so when people say, well, we want safe firearms, we just don't want firearm deaths. Let me ask you guys, people who are not maybe firearm aficionados, what do you think the purpose, while we're talking about gun safety, what do you think the purpose to a stabilizing brace might be?
Make it easier to throw into a garbage can outside of an elementary school?
Well, that's one reason. Or maybe make Somebody it more accurate.
Yeah, people out there who don't know, we'll let you in. It's Hunter Biden.
It's Hunter Biden.
Hunter Biden.
Won't be reported on, though.
Outside of
Then he slept with them. What were you saying there, Jim?
I was saying it could it possibly be that it makes it more accurate.
Makes it easier to control.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to aim. Now, what they say is, see, it makes it easier to aim, therefore criminals will, of course, purchase the necessary accessories for the proper legal avenues, and they'll be more dangerous. Whereas Americans who own firearms say, it makes it easier to control.
Oh, my gosh.
So here's the thing, though. It's been presented this way, and that's why the media isn't talking about it, because they want you to think, stabilizing brace, that's like, short belt, like sawed-off shotguns. It doesn't affect anybody. You don't care about this. Well, let me read into the full proposal here, because it's basically all-out gun banning and confiscation. For those who don't know, confiscation means they come and take your guns. By the way, how do they do it? Ironically, guns.
It's amazing how you want more safety, then you get it and you claim it to be criminal.
Right, exactly.
Astonishing.
I wonder if the ATF's guns have any stabilizing braces. Page 43 of this proposal reads, this is from the ATF, in order to comply with the provisions of the NFA, current unlicensed possessors of a firearm equipped with a stabilizing brace, note, modified stock, and a barrel length of less than 16 inches would need to take one of the following actions. Destroy the firearm, which is interesting to me because technically that could be considered illegal because you're at least destroying the serial number. So destroy the firearm. It's one of those ghost guns.
Yes.
Oh, right.
Or you turn the firearm into your local ATF office or complete and submit an application to make and register a firearm ATF Form 1 as part of the submission. The $200 tax payment is required with the application. So turn in the firearm. What happens if you don't?
Good question.
This is what no one wants to talk about. What happened in Australia? When people talk about, it's a gun buyback. So it's like eBay for my guns. Yeah, but it's mandatory. We're going to pay you less than it's worth, and if you don't bring them in, we're going to come and take them with guns. No stabilizing braces, though, but you don't really care because you won't be able to defend yourself. So this is the issue that no one's talking about. If Americans knew that this creates a national gun registry, and I know what you're saying, well, it only creates a gun registry for stabilizing braces. It's more than you think.
Yeah.
But they can also trace who doesn't have stabilizing braces. This is an issue here, too, as well. This is a backdoor in, and there's a reason that you don't have a gun registry nationally in the United States. For more evidence, just see Twitter. Because you have people saying there should be neighborhood watches that tell you who own guns so that you can determine whether you want to live in that neighborhood or not. I know. Who would possibly want to live in a neighborhood that's safe?
It's like Yelp for criminals looking for guns. Like,
yeah.
Well, this one has 5. I like that one.
You gotta go introduce yourself to your neighbors. Hi, I'm Dave. I own a gun.
Just think about this for a second.
There's a blue dot on my house.
If the left had their way, you would search a pedophile watch list, and Hunter Biden wouldn't show up, nor would he show up on the firearm owner list because he dumped it in a trash can on his way to carry out said pedophile activities. And here's the ATF director, David Chipman. Again, we've talked about him. You can run a search. All the sources are available. As a matter of fact, if you just search David Chipman on louderwithcrowder.com, you'll be able to find the previous resources, him involved with Waco, and him, of course, supporting these mandatory buybacks. He did suggest, or certainly didn't deny, confiscation when he was asked about them by Senator Ted Cruz. So believe your lying eyes.
You mean that you don't just want to ban the manufacturer of those rifles, you don't just want to make it illegal to sell those rifles, but you want to actively have government go after the people who currently possess firearms, and if they don't register and submit to all of the onerous restrictions of the National Firearms Act, presumably confiscate their weapons?
Senator, what I've said publicly is that as an advocate, I prefer a system where the AR-15 and other assault weapons are regulated under the National Firearms Act.
Right this way! Don't you expect to just have a big piece of cheese in front of him?
Let me, the Count Vigo!
Some blind giant to cut off his tail. What a wonderful children's story, by the way. Very blind mice.
What? Even if you don't like firearms, you like your rights, right?
You would think so.
Well, yeah, but how is it not possible to see this coming, right? Remember when Beto O'Rourke said, "You're damn right, we're coming for your guns"? Like it was
before
like,
he kick-flipped off into the sunset?
Right? How do you not think that that's what they're going for? And he dodges the question and says, I just envision a world where AR-15s and other assault-style rifles are off the market. We've asked you a million times. Define that, please.
Yeah, and they're defined differently from state to state. And here's the thing, it doesn't matter. Most actual gun homicides or violent crimes are carried out with handguns, right? Yes. So, again, it's not about keeping you safe. That's why it doesn't matter if it has 10 rounds or has 7 rounds. Yeah. And it's still not allowed if it has 7 rounds because there needs to be a tax stamp. Here, keep in mind, too, right here they're talking about, right, a $200 tax payment required with the application from you, the consumer. I just talked about how in California, the manufacturers are required to simply pay some kind of arbitrary tax so that their guns are even available in the state. How much money do you think the government rakes in with this at the cost of your rights? I don't know why the left only cares about your rights when it relates to, aborting a fetus. That's really about it, honestly. They don't believe in your rights when it comes to speaking freely. They don't believe in the right to choice when it comes to what car you want to drive, what kind of meat you want to eat, what kind of energy you use, how much you pay in taxes.
Yeah.
They don't believe in any. But here, when we're talking about your rights to firearms, what happened to this idea of big money in politics? This could be $400 just collected every single firearm. New. Another $400. Is that not a poor tax?
Well, exactly. So most people out there may not know how much a gun would cost. What's the average firearm roughly going to go for? Is it somewhere between $500 and $1,000?
Yeah, somewhere between $500 and $1,000.
Okay, so $200.
Unless you get a high point, but you'll be missing half your skull.
Yeah, so $200 on $500. That raises the price a little, right?
There's one high point owner out there right now. Man. Friends do not let friends use high points.
I get it, but it's like saying that there's a gas tax that makes gas go from like $3 to $4.50. It's like, oh gosh, that's onerous. Well, yes, of course, that's the whole point. They're trying to keep people in the middle class from being able to buy firearms. Do you understand that rich people don't care about a $200 tax stamp?
Let me paint you a picture here. Let's say that the never-ending unemployment benefits run out. And your city is still on fire. And if you're in California, you're still paying over $5 for gasoline.
And it's still on fire from the forest.
Right. Now the rapists are upon you. You can't own a firearm, and you can't drive out.
Oops.
It just makes common sense.
But the good thing is you're spending whatever it is, $1,800 trillion on some new rail that's not going to happen because Biden owes some favors to Amtrak. Good for you.
There you go.
Watch Louder with Crowder live, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.